sant yàlla.
looy xaar utal wéef nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jah Oil Company stands tall as a trusted name in energy, keeping the Gambia moving with service stations across the country and a commitment to innovation and reliability. In Farafenni, Jah Group is reshaping our industrial landscape. The Jah Oil Cement Factory can produce up to 100,000 bags a day, reducing imports, creating jobs, and building a stronger Gambia brick by brick. And in the heart of the Central River region, Jah Farming Initiative is cultivating food security. With thousands of hectares under development and modern irrigation, Jah Farming is turning the Gambia's soil into abundance. Jah Group is more than a company. It is a vision of self-sufficiency, resilience, and progress. The Jah Group of companies, investing in industry, agriculture, and energy, building the Gambia's future today.
Africa is rising and business knows no borders. With Bloombank and PAPS, buying and selling across Africa is now effortless. Fast, secure, direct from your Bloombank account. One Africa, one connection, one heartbeat of opportunity, powered by Bloombank Africa. Bloombank Africa, in partnership with PAPS, connecting Africa, empowering you. Bloombank Africa, we make it happen.
What are the prospects of the PPP winning in December or anytime, after December? You go out there, you speak to the people, especially the women. The way you talk about the problems of this country and the way, inducements happen during elections, do you think they understand? Because you have people out there who understand elections as an opportunity to make money or, stock up on food items that they didn't have for the last 5 years.
But those food items will only last a month or two. You're giving up your entire future for a month or two. So for me, what I tell them when I go out there, it's your taxes, it's your resources that he's using. He's using your fat to fry you.
Then they would feel that what they are doing
but so
is
do get
okay.
fofu. They did. So do get fofu. So they can tell you what the issues are in Gambia. You go 12 hours a day without light. You go 2-3 days without water. The educational system sucks because Gambia, the last 5 to 10 years, has gotten the worst GCE results every single year in the public sector. That every day you go to the market, what you were paying for changes. There's a 5 to 10% increase every single day. That the president doesn't care about you because he's not handling or dealing with these issues. The other thing you said that just blew my mind is when there's an oil crisis somewhere, it affects us directly. Why don't we have a reserve system? You should have a reserve.
Don't we have? Is that not what Mandinari Depot is about?
That's what we were told, but the average person is now paying $15 more than they were paying last month because clearly we don't have reserves.
In the U.S.
The same is happening in the U.S. True.
The same is happening
but
everywhere
our income can absorb some of it, one. And two, I have been in the United States where, and I know the United States, people are going to say, don't use America as an excuse, I get it. When things like that happen, the governors of the state, which are our ministers, or the president themselves step in and say, we know that gas prices, or we know child care has increased. We have a budget. that we were going to put a $10 million budget that we were going to put into something else. We have decided that we will take that money, put it into education, or put it into daycare, or put it into the groceries, put it directly into something that affects the everyday person, so that the prices increase gradually instead of immediately. If we have reserve system in place, there are things that the government can do immediately when there's a price increase to absorb, so that the average Gambian doesn't feel it.
Well, they will claim that they are doing that. Because,
where? Yeah. When there's an I have students now.
They're saying that they are foregoing up to $360
and I'm telling
million of taxes they could have taken from the oil marketing companies.
You're talking about the subsidy?
Yes,
exactly. He's talking about the subsidy.
Okay, let me break down the subsidy real quickly. There's subsidy on petrol and diesel.
Yes.
The petrol is about 3%, right? And it takes, on average, if you have a car SUV, you need about 40 to 60 liters, $4,000 to $6,000 to have a full tank. So an average person is saving 3% of that, which is about $180 to $200. It's so miaga. It kind of negates the whole purpose of subsidy, right? So, the 3% is not sufficient. Let's go to the diesel. The diesel is about 25% subsidy, which is quite significant. Mm-hmm. I love the idea because, especially with the diesel, the transportation, the trucks. But if you look at the issue with the subsidy for the diesel, it doesn't trickle down to the markets. The prices are still either the same or even higher. Because you know why? No. They have weak enforcement. So the middlemen are absorbing the subsidy, but it's not trickling down because we have weak enforcement. Do we have a task force to say, hey, you guys are getting that 25% subsidy? Let's make sure the price of basic commodities. We're not here to control the price, but to say, hey, the basic commodities.
Is it wrong to control the price? Because people have been saying price.
No, it has to be a balanced approach because we want a free market, right? Okay. We don't want to dictate prices, right? But if you get in subsidy from the government up to 25% for the diesel, prices of goods should not be going up in the market.
Every day.
They should be able to absorb the shock. But right now, it's like a black market in that middle layer because they're getting the benefit, but it's not a pass-through. So that weak enforcement, so it's like we're just giving out free money to the middlemen to live off of Gambians because they know that we have these are scrupulous businessmen. They know we have a weak enforcement system, so they will take the benefit and then tell the retailers and consumers, hey, prices have gone up. You see what's happening in Iran? I'm even going to increase the price. So it's like they're double dipping. They're taking from the government and then they're screwing up the people. So it's not just the government issue, right? It's also us, the Gambians, because we want that instant gratification. I don't care. I want to make my money. Everybody, you're on your own. We figure it out. So that's why the government needs to step in. So we need the government to understand how economy works. Mm-hmm. So make sure this subsidy that is being passed on, especially on the diesel, the 25% is significant, but it doesn't pass through. So there's no benefit.
You used one expression there. The moment you mention it, people think about just one thing. Black market, mm-hmm. Foreign currency exchange. Mm-hmm. How would you deal with that? Because when you talk about the economic stress that this country is going through, mm-hmm. economists always tell you that, because we don't control the actual exchange rate of our currency against, convertible currencies, mm-hmm. this is what is putting pressure on the dollar.
Yes.
So how would you deal with the black market, phenomenon?
Yeah, it's something we need to get rid of, as a serious.
That's why I'm asking you, as future president, how would you deal with that?
So I think dealing with that, we need to have more technocrats that understand, how.
You don't think we have more than enough technocrats in the Central Bank of the Gambia already?
But what have they done for the past 15, 20 years?
What are they supposed to do, according to Saikou Sawo?
What they're supposed to do for me is let's get rid of those middlemen. That's where the issue lies.
The middlemen would be these people who stand out in the streets, because waving. It's like it's like the dollar is a commodity.
Yes, exactly. So they're exploiting, the consumers, the traders, because some people need that foreign exchange to be able to go to Senegal. We just interviewed a young man that has a poultry. He gets all of his feeds in Senegal, mm-hmm. so he needs safer. And imagine converting dollars to safer. So they lose so much money. So the exploitation is unprecedented. So it needs to be reined.
So would you immediately, close down the parallel market? We've seen Yahya Jammeh try that, several times during his presidency. But it keeps bouncing back all the time.
So I think that's where the central bank needs to come in to see how best they can create a reliable, I would say maybe fintech, because there's a lot of financial technology institutions these days, to see how we can.
Well, fintechs again are causing a lot of problems for forex bureaus. I had the president of the Association of Licensed Forex Bureaus here on Monday complaining about fintechs, but his complaint is more because, according to him, fintechs are not as regulated as the forex bureaus are.
That's what I'm saying. We need to invite them because they're a major player, whether you like it or not. Wave, APS, and there's more and more coming in.
Yeah, these are my partners. You can name them. Don't name any other.
Yes, but let's invite them to the table, and then let's put a regulatory framework that is mutually beneficial, for all parties, because They also provide that digital medium that makes life easy for so many people, right?
Yeah, and the world is coming.
Yes, exactly. And we need an integrated banking system. So once we have those major players in the same room, we put an approach, and then we can get rid of all these side hustle men that are exploiting the Gambians.
And two big problems awaiting whoever is to succeed, the Barrow administration, apart from debt, unemployment, and youth frustration. Yes. How will you handle these? It's youth frustration that leads to this growing backway problem. Let me start with you.
Yes. For me, one of my biggest frustrations is when you graduate high school, there are not enough technical institutes around to provide continuous education.
Yeah, addressing that with the TVETs that are coming up.
Yes. For example, Banjul only has one technical institute in the entire Banjul.
Which is?
I forgot the name.
Country Vocational Training Center. It's not there anymore.
Okay, that was the one.
That was then. It's not there.
So
anymore.
Now you just made my point. It's not there anymore.
Although I'm not here to make your point.
So my point is, where does the government take responsibility? If I've gone as far as finishing high school, I should be able to get into a vocational program because not everybody is going to want to go to the university. The government has to support those structures and in turn create jobs. I have been in situations where I was in
those structures. These are the TVETs, yeah?
Yes.
Technical, vocational, and educational trainings
centers. Where you'd learn plumbing, masonry, all of that. I have been in situations where in Banjul, the youth are saying, even when they want to work at the trailers and when they go out on the trailers, when they get there, they can no longer do the jobs because the Chinese or whoever is out there is already coming with their own people.
Oh.
So even if they want to now go out and work on the trailers, they can no longer go fishing because those resources have now been drained. So they have nothing else to do but to sit out there and drink attaya. So for us, we need to change the mindset. For example, everyone is saying, there was in the newspaper about a couple of months ago, that 500,000 visas have been given to the youth to go to Spain and work.
No, not given to the youth. Spain plans to legalize, to regularize the status of 500,000 foreigners already in the country.
Yes. So let's say those 500,000.
The process is on now to give Gambians in Spain who don't have good documents, the documents they're required to apply.
Do you know what types of jobs those are? They're not educated. They don't have skills. They go out there and work in farms as laborers for $200 to $300 a month.
It's a lot of money back here in the Gambia.
You can earn $200 to $300 a month in Gambia without living on the streets.
Seriously?
People are living in very hard conditions in Spain. And not only in Spain, in these countries. Yes. Why don't we create those infrastructures here so we can leave our youth here, keep them safe, keep them light-minded, educate them? Because $200 to $300 is not enough for you to go to Spain and work.
If the way the PPP will tackle, youth frustration and unemployment is to create the infrastructure,
yes,
the Barrow government is already doing that. That's what I'm saying with the TVET centers.
So with the TBS centers, right, I think what they also need to do with a lot of these people graduating, they still can find jobs, right? So they need to strengthen that private, public-private partnership where they can absorb more of those students, so they can have internship placements, to be able to start that career. Because a lot of them after school, they don't have anything to do. And like I said, we need to invest in our people. We need to change the curriculum to where, even grade 12 students can finish and start working in a factory. Singapore did that, and now, they can produce their own things. And then when it comes to farming, it's not just about handing out tractors. How many times they've been handing out tractors, and still we're importing food like no ever. Like you said, most of those people, when they go to Spain, they're doing farming, and they're making,
$15,000 a month.
So we can create those jobs here. We can have that value creation, but we need to have a full end-to-end value chain. Not just hand out tractors, but we need seeds, we need fertilizers, we need irrigation. You understand? So we need storage facilities. We need to make sure we can also use AI to boost productivity. So once we have a full cycle, we'll be self-sufficient. We don't have to import more. And then we can create more jobs through that.
What's your vision on education and self-reliance, given the PPP's, emphasis on renewal when it was in power?
In regards to education, like Saikou just said, by the time you get to the 10th grade, you should have an idea of what you want to do.
We did when we were going to school.
Yes, you should have an idea, one. Two, programs should be created within the school system like we do in the U.S. If you want to be a hairdresser, you start going to hairdresser classes, and after school, there's an after-school program where you actually go through a mentorship program and you work through that. And by the time you finish 12th grade, you have your hair license.
Okay, so mentorship programs would be a new addition to...
Yes, it has to be. Okay. It has to be. We also have people that want to be nurses. There's a 2-year program. While you're in high school, you take the classes. So by the time you finish, you're a licensed practical nurse. You either work at that as a career or you go to school where you get a 4-year degree. So the curriculum itself needs to be changed.
Especially in today's world,
yes.
With AI killing a lot of white-collar jobs, so we need to make sure we know the time frame we're in. So that, because a lot of people, unfortunately, will just have to become more blue-collar jobs. We need more electricians, Even in America, a lot of white-collar jobs, they're losing their jobs, right? Yeah. So we need to make sure those blue-collar skills are readily available. And that's what we need to actually build Gambia. We need those skilled laborers. And that's where the world is shifting to today. So we have to make sure our curriculum fits what this generation needs.
When we started, you thought taking you up to 9 o'clock would be, that's a long time away. I mean, it's after 9 and here we are still
talking.
How would you deal with, or how would we intend to strengthen democratic practice and press freedom at a time when these are under scrutiny? I'm sure you know about the issue between the GPU, the Ministry of Information, and Pura.
So here's the thing. I'm not afraid of press. I'm big on freedom of press because I feel like...
No, you're not afraid. I mean, come on, Saikou, you just... I mean, if you invite Saikou today and after 2 weeks, he doesn't get an invite, he goes through this Fatoumata to say, come back. So you're not afraid of the media.
No, and I feel like, we should be able to...
the government actually, strengthen the democratic process and media freedom?
Let's keep empowering the journalists, let them, let's focus more on investigative journalists, find the root cause of, the issues, create documentaries, educate the people. That's what we need, we shouldn't be afraid of scrutiny. If we have deals that are so good and you think it benefits Gambia, it should be able to face public scrutiny.
Absolutely.
We're not saying the deal is going to be perfect. Gambia obviously is not going to have everything. There's going to be concession on both sides. But for the majority of the party, like, hey, this is actually, it doesn't cover everything, but for the 80% of it looks good for Gambia. So those are the type of leadership we'll be able to bring for the Gambians.
Neneh, I'm sure you're following the the standoff. Although it has to be said, the Gambia Bar Association is mediating and things are looking good. But what did you make of the push and pull between the GPU on the one hand and the Ministry of Information and Pura on the other hand?
I think President Barrow is becoming President Jammeh.
President Barrow has nothing to do with...
I think he has an effect.
What the Minister of Information decides or the Director General of Pura decides?
Really?
That's what I think.
No, I don't. Everything goes through our president. No, things don't happen blindly. He's our president. And he gets to decide. He uses these ministers and he puts people in place so they take the fall. But he is the bad guy. He controls the press indirectly. When you say things that he's not comfortable with...
But he holds a dinner every year now for the media.
Okay. He owns a dinner for the media because that's part of the process. That's what we're supposed to do. We have to create this free press illusion of free press propaganda. There's a gentleman at GRTS I was reading a couple of days ago.
Omar Jallo,
that recently resigned.
He came back to refute his initial statement. So he said, this is not from my mouth, he was being pressured to say those things and he had to come back and refute those statements.
Yes.
So, this is not the kind of leadership we need in the 21st century. Otherwise...
Well, he was resigned. He resigned.
Because he was bullied into resigning.
Well, we're not sure about that. One of his main reasons is because he was redeployed back to GRTS from the office of the president, even though he served the vice president.
No, but his statements kind of implicated, who bullied him, right? That's what I read. These are his statements, verbatim, that he gave to the media.
Yeah, we've heard the story.
So I mean, hey, certain things... But we can clearly see what is at play here. Yeah. Like Neneh is saying, a lot of these ministers, like if I was, the president, if I were the president today, I want ministers that are independent, that, that can sit, that I can sit on the table with and say, hey, this is not working for the Gambian people. Let's do it the right way. This is not...
So you're suggesting he should call Dr. Ismail Assis and say to him, look, I'm hearing a lot of noise about your intention to bring out these regulations which are not putting the Gambia in any good light.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And we need ministers not to challenge the president, but, but to say, hey, this is not what I signed up for. I signed up for a better Gambia. This doesn't reflect... the principle that I stand for.
This is assuming that the reason for the regulations,
is to control the press.
Are coming from the president.
It is. He's a part of it. Yeah. These things cannot happen.
Because if you look at even especially with the Minister of Information, he's very anecdotal. He has this tendency of anecdotal fallacy. It's like...
Oh, wow. I've never heard that expression before, anecdotal fallacy.
Yes, because...
We educate
because he has a doctorate degree. He has a doctorate degree. This is somebody that has written research papers. He even taught at the University of the Gambia. So he knows a lot of these things because he's more educated than the president himself. But then he would come sit here and represent the facts in a way... He doesn't even care, like, whether...
But he said he doesn't care.
So he kind of obviously misinform in a very intelligent way. And we expect somebody of his caliber with a doctorate degree to do better.
An AI-aided fact-checking center. So if people feel that he misinforms, they only need to put in, whatever he says in future through the system.
He wouldn't care either way.
To fact check. Just finally, what is your message to Gambians as they prepare to cast their ballots in December 2026?
Yes, I would like to appeal to Gambians. We need their support, and we're championing a lot of initiatives that are, that would actually benefit Gambians. We're not even in the office yet. We're not elected officials. We're using our own funding to do some of these initiatives, and that shows, the principle we stand on. We want better Gambia. We want a Gambia that works for all, inclusive, regardless of tribe, race, region, and we as Gambians to work as one. Like I came here and didn't come to ask, hey, what tribe are you in, before I sat down. When I go to the store to buy, commodities, they don't ask me, hey, are you Mandinka or Sere? Okay, we're giving you a special price, right? When you travel overseas, are you Gambian? Yes, they don't ask for your tribe. So we need to be able to work together as one. We need to have more like-minded people to share ideas with, collaborate, and do things that would benefit the whole of Gambia. We need to think long term now as a country, in terms of development, in terms of benchmarking the standard we have here to other countries that are actually progressing. Because you can't just make blanket statements like, hey, Gambia is looking like Dubai. What effort have we done? We're not even in the same, league. So when I say anecdotal fallacy, and then the Minister of Information came here to clear that up, he actually, seconded what the president is saying. You need to put in the work. We would love Gambia to be like Dubai, So the standard of living could be high. Gambia's could be, we don't have to have our brothers and sisters. I had a cousin that died in the back way. This is somebody with so much potential. He's actually very intelligent. But, limited opportunities is what force people to migrate. So if you come in here knowing all this is happening, and then you come in here to second, hey, Gambia is looking like Dubai, it's an insult to Gambians. So we can't accept. If you put in the work, then you have the bragging rights, to say, hey, I did put in the work. We deserve the accolades. And we're not here to criticize everything the government is doing. If they earn the bragging rights, we should give them credit where it's due. But you can't just make those blanket statements. And Dr. Cisse knows better. So that's when I say he's very anecdotal, he knows what he's doing, but he doesn't care. And then if you look at who he was 5 years ago and who he is today, he's a complete disaster. I have no respect for that guy.
I'm sure he'll push back on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And finally, he says we need to unite, forget about our tribal differences, even religious differences. How do you, convey this message to people at the grassroots level?
For me, my approach is completely different. I am looking at the way the average Gambian lives. The average household earns the same income that we earned when Jawara was president. The average household earns between $600 to $700 a month. That has not changed. The average income has not changed for a Gambian family. When
you say dollars, do you actually mean dollars?
Dollars.
Dollars. Okay.
Dollars.
$600?
$600.
$600 today is about $42,000 a year?
Yes.
$42,000?
Yes. Because most of them get that money
is
from
that
abroad.
Per annum or per month?
Per month, because they have 1/3 of their income coming from people in Europe.
Oh, okay.
That's who runs their household.
You need somebody outside to
you need wholesale. You need someone outside to give you that money so that you can run your household. 1/3 of our income comes from the diaspora, and that's almost
$1 billion.
That's almost $1 billion. $900 million.
How you would ensure that the diaspora takes part in?
We lived in
personally. I think the diaspora should have a right to vote. I think they deserve the voice. They are part of the infrastructure in Gambia. They've lived abroad. They are exposed. They know what the expectations are. And they will bring that kind of light mind to the ones that already live here. And most of them control their households because they support their families here. So they should vote. That's one. Two, for those who don't have that diaspora support, as for example, women in agriculture, they're on the 90th percentile in terms of poverty. So for me, my approach is, if you believe your life is better off today than it was 10 years ago, I don't need to convince you, vote Barrow. But if you know today you cannot put food on your table, every time you pay school fees or you get ready for your children to start school, it's a business, tafadanu. You have to go back and start over. Don't vote Barrow. If you are going, vote PPP. If you are going 12 hours a day or 8 hours a day without light.
By the way, I must be extremely lucky because at London Corner, since I came back from holiday almost 3 weeks ago, we haven't gone more than 2-3 hours without electricity. And you're saying some parts of this country are going 12 hours, straight hours without electricity?
Yes.
I must be very lucky where I am.
Yes, you must be very lucky where you are because the Kololi area, I have an aunt there, my dad's sister lives there.
They go 12 hours?
They go 12 hours. Sometimes they go a couple of days without water.
Oh, wow.
They have to wake up at 4 a.m. I have the drums that I brought from the United States is what they leave under the taps. So that if the tap actually opens at 2-3 in the morning while they are asleep, they're able to get water.
We used to do that in London Corner.
They're able to get water. If you know that your basic human needs are not being met, don't vote Barrow. Vote an alternative. And PPP is that alternative. I want the average Gambian to honestly look at their lives today and tell me that their lives are better off today than they were in 10 years. And the answer is now.
On that note, we have to stop. Neneh, Saikou, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for having
That's
us.
Neneh Cheyassin Kebe. I'm going to use the Kebe.
Munga wa sekata.
Yes,
sant yàlla. looy xaar utal Wave nga scan nga fay te nag doo ci yokku dara.
Jammeh Oil Company stands tall as a trusted name in energy, keeping the Gambia moving with service stations across the country and a commitment to innovation and reliability. In Farafenni, Jammeh Group is reshaping our industrial landscape. The Jammeh Oil Cement Factory can produce up to 100,000 bags a day, reducing imports, creating jobs, and building a stronger Gambia brick by brick. And in the heart of the Central River region, Jammeh Farming Initiative is cultivating food security. With thousands of hectares under development and modern irrigation, Jammeh Farming is turning the Gambia's soil into abundance. Jammeh Group is more than a company. It is a vision of self-sufficiency, resilience, and progress. The Jammeh Group of companies, investing in industry, agriculture, and energy, building the Gambia's future today.
Africa is rising and business knows no borders. With Bloombank and PAPS, buying and selling across Africa is now effortless. Fast, secure, direct from your Bloombank account. One Africa, one connection, one heartbeat of opportunity, powered by Bloombank Africa. Bloombank Africa, in partnership with PAPS, connecting Africa, empowering you. Bloombank Africa, we make it happen.